elaborate on that a little bit. I just got to know from the guy that's in there, like, what's his deal? He's like, how is he so authentic? And like, dude, I don't, like I said, man crush central over here.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you can even see the transition just from a free agency standpoint. You know, we're starting to get like guys who really are attracted to this place. And that hasn't been the case in a while, you know, here in Detroit. So, you know, Dan gets a lot of credit for that. I just think from a football perspective, man, Dan is like the absolute perfect dude that you want to be your head commander of a football team.
This week, you know, you get a chance. And like I said, I think for Coach Franklin, it means a lot too with his record against teams of this nature and stuff like that. Like this is again, another opportunity, right? And, those opportunities only come around so much.
What are you saying to this team if you're obviously you're still rocking that 4-0 in the blue and white?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a season-defining game. I mean, that's the reality. I think in my mind, you make the game as big as it is because that's exactly what it is.
For Drew having that go-to guy, and I believe I believe it's Tyler Warren. And I don't know if he's verbally coming out and saying that, but I want him to. I want him to say, yo, obviously if it's not called for him, but like I'm beating my guy. It's 3rd and 4, 5, 7. I got an out, a corner, whatever it is, bro.
Throw me that bitch.
Bro, like you do have an everlasting effect on many people, not just fans, coaches, but like you said, players. Keep that legacy going. It's a beautiful thing. And when you go out there and perform and to make the magical moments magical in your favor, those big nights like we have, or big noonday like we have this Saturday, it makes it all the sweeter when you come up victorious. So,
quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn State. Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far?
Yo, guys, we got the merch.
We have hats, shirts, hoodies, we got it all. Make sure you hit the link in the description, check it out.
You guys keep buying the merch. It allows us to produce this pod and continuing to bring you guys dope content.
So go check it out. Make sure you tag us at State Media PSU. And when you get yours, make sure you shout us out. We'll give you a shout out online.
Check it out. Looking forward to the support, and we appreciate you guys as always.
And we're back with the pocket. Got B-Bell and my man Jason Cabinda. It's a big week for us. Michigan week. Got a lot to cover. Jay, how you been, bro? It's been a minute.
I'm good, man. It's good to see y'all boys doing well, man. I love the pod that y'all got going on. Talking ball, talking about our boys, man. Love seeing our boys go out there and get these dubs, man. We got to get this natty soon.
Shoot.
You said it. He's in
the year, but now B's not talking about nothing. He's not talking about any rankings, nothing like that.
One week at a time.
What'd you say?
I said 1 week at a time.
Yeah. So I started off super optimistic. We doing it, playoff this year, which I am still confident. But let me pump the brakes on the public, outpour of appreciation. You got to go out there, execute Saturdays. We'll get into that, but yeah, glad to have you, bro. I know we talked a lot. I know you want to get in this media space. I have been. Well, you're already in it. So, guys that know ball should be the ones talking ball. So I know you're gonna hit us with some heat tonight. And how's the Lions treating you? Detroit, how's that going on up there?
Good out here, man. Again, this thing turned around. The vibe is high. Morale is high. I mean, I just think we got something really good cooking right here, man. The culture's right. I mean, Dan's got us right. Everybody's mentality's right. Selfless players. Everybody's just doing everything they can to win right now. I think that's the most important thing, man. So I mean, we're riding out some positive energy right now. Coming out the bye, we're 6-2. First in the division. We just got to keep this thing rolling. Keep handling business week by week. So
love it, bro. Dan Campbell is so I feel like he's so throwback and so old school. Like I have the biggest man crush on the guy. I've never met him, but if for some odd reasons, I'd be like, if I could pick and choose where I could play, coming out, I'd be like, I'm going to Detroit and playing for that guy, all day long, no questions asked. Elaborate on that a little bit. I just got to know from the guy that's in there, what's his deal? He's how is he so authentic? And like I said, man crush central over here.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you can even see the transition just from a free agency standpoint. We're starting to get guys who really are attracted to this place. And that hasn't been the case in a while, here in Detroit. So, Dan gets a lot of credit for that. I just think From a football perspective, man, Dan is like the absolute perfect dude that you want to be your head commander of a football team, because that's really what it feels like, like type of dude that'll motivate you from a standpoint of want to run through a brick wall. I mean, he's got the juice. He brings it every single day. He's the same guy every day. He's honest. You don't get a whole lot of in the league, whether it's front office, whether it's coaches, whatever the case may be, you don't get a whole lot of honesty and transparency. And Dan will keep it 100% real. Like, that's just who he is. Like, he doesn't care for the theatrics. He doesn't care for the politics. Who's the best is who's going to play. And at the end of the day, every decision that ends up being made is going to be for the best of the team. And, everybody sees it because he lives it every day. So I just think the vibe is so right, man. Dan's so awesome. He's juiced up. I mean, you heard him in his one of his first press conferences. He has 8 espressos every morning and freaking hella coffees on top of that. I mean, the dude's he's juiced all the time.
But the one thing I will say, though, is I feel like the authenticity, right? I feel like some guys get that job and they get in that seat and it's perfect, perfect, perfect. And they preach this whole setting, but football is an imperfect game. And I feel like the way he talks about it, he wants you guys to just go and let it all hang out. And I feel there's a huge advantage to having a head coach that breeds that confidence into every single player. And he knows ball too. So it's not just some guy that's a rah-rah cheerleader guy. He knows ball, but he breeds confidence in the fact that you don't have to be perfect. I just need you 100% pedal to the metal. If you make mistakes, we'll coach it. If you keep making mistakes, then it's kind of on you. But I feel like he breeds that type of confidence, and that's something that across the league I don't think exists. And I just love that for him, and that's why I think, to your point, he wins the locker room over in that manner, and then just
guys want to play for him, man.
Yeah, that's exactly how Dan is. To me, Dan's thing is consistency. He wants to be able to know that you're the same player. Whoever he puts out there, he can trust that person because he knows exactly who they are every single day, down in and down out. To him, it's if he knows that, he knows the energy you're going to bring, he knows how you're going to play. The rest can be corrected, the rest can be coached. Right. But from a mentality standpoint, from an energy standpoint, from you're going to be consistently who you are, what you're good at. We know you're good at it, and you'll continue to go out there and do that good. We can work with you. So that's been his mantra, and you can just tell that that's the vibe, and that's the case with the type of players that we have on both sides of the ball.
I love it, bro. So who y'all got next week? LA
Chargers, baby, at LA.
Cool.
So little road trip.
Huh? I said they got a short week.
Yeah. No doubt.
I remember working on Hard Knocks 2 seasons ago. I remember we talked about it, Jason. Kind of got to peek behind the blinds of what was going on, even a little bit more than, what was put on HBO. But I was saying the same thing. I was texting you yo, they had a clip of you locked in on his speech. Jason had the eyes going. I'm yo, I feel that too. I'm behind the computer. I need to run down on kickoff or something, man. Just to add on to the Campbell, praise. He definitely seemed genuine. Everything that I've seen, and the front office, GM, Holmes, doing their thing, man.
I love Brad, man. Brad's freaking awesome. Seriously, Brad is awesome.
Football needs guys like that.
He's always around. He's always involved. He's always at practice. He's not a ghost GM. There's some organizations, some of the people in the front office who make really big decisions are just really ghosts that you just never see. Everybody here is involved from all the way to the top with Sheila, all the way to Brad and then Dan. So we got it going the right way here, man.
That's awesome, man. Like I said, football needs more guys like that. Let's shift it over, Jason. Give me your State of the Union for Penn State football this year.
State of the Union for Penn State football. I mean,
from a former player watching from the league, what's your thoughts, dude?
To me, we got all the talent, man. I feel like we're loaded, on both sides of the ball. I love one staple of this team that I really love that I don't feel like we've had in past years is our offensive line. I mean, our O-line, is really, really solid. I mean, they're the type of O-line where we can really lean on. And you even saw that in the Iowa game. We kind of Iowa to Iowa, which was that's kind of – that doesn't happen for us. So to see that, I think has been awesome. Obviously, you got Drew. He's a young quarterback. I think he's growing every week. I would love to see him continue to gain more confidence and continue to see the OC gain more confidence in him to really be able to take over a game because he can. You've seen some of the dots and some of the throws that he's made. I mean, he has all the talent there. Obviously, we got a stable of running backs right now that are dogs. I mean, I love seeing Nick Singleton and K-Tron run that ball, man. Those dudes are tough. Nick is fast as hell. K-Tron's that bruiser. I mean, he had a Marshawn Lynch-esque run in that Maryland game. I mean, he got tackled at like the 10 and we just kept turning the feet all the way into the end zone. I mean, that's an attitude play I love. That's the kind of stuff that gets me fired up. So, I mean, I'm loving what I see in our defense, man. It's just tenacious. I love our defense. I mean, Manny Diaz got those guys cooking right now. I mean, we just have so much depth really across all positions, from the D-line, keeping the D-line fresh, DBs. I mean, we got that, Manny Diaz uses that prowler package with the 7 DBs. I mean, we're only able to do that because we have so many guys that really understand the playbook, are all on the same page, those kinds of things. So we got the right team. I think the biggest thing for me to see from this team at this point of the season would probably be because of the fact that they're young. I just want to see that we're going to grow and continue to mature. I want to see this team grow up throughout the season. I think that's one of the biggest things that every team really has to do every year is game by game. Are we going to be able to learn from our mistakes from the Ohio State game, from the Indiana game? Are we going to make sure that our confidence doesn't waver at all? Are we going to make sure that in the big moments, the lights aren't too bright? Those types of things. So I'm excited for this team. And I think even if this year isn't necessarily the year, I mean, we're bringing almost everybody back. I mean, this is going to be a team to be a force to be reckoned with for a little while now. So,
I love it. Man knows ball, especially Penn State ball.
I like it. You're a little more optimistic than I think what the mainstream media is, and I think B and I have been on that same page. Like, everything's still in front of us, and I think when you look at the season from a microcosm, people focus so much on the Ohio State game, and I said this about how I evaluate really good teams, right? Like, I evaluate them by their floor. If a team at their floor is still competitive or winning games, even if they're not playing well, like I put enough confidence in the fact that all these kids are still kids. You're talking 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. Like, it's hard to get them to play very, very – it's not like the league, bro. Like, teams grow. You see the Bengals catching fire. Like, they grow consistently, and there's expectations, and they can meet those. But these kids are dealing with a lot of stuff. They're still juggling a lot of balls. So it's like – for me, when I'm watching teams, I look at their floor. Our floor dropped significantly in the Ohio State game compared to what we had done up into that point. Mm-hmm. And then we come out against Indiana a little sluggish. I talked about it with Marty when I got to talk to him on last week's show. Like, it was like they almost let Ohio State beat them twice. You could still feel a vibe. He was on the sidelines that it was just a hangover, like a bad hangover from that. But then I think this week they really blossomed and did everything that you talked about. They showed the growth. They made the corrections. They did what they were supposed to do. We talked about last week, like, what are we looking to see for the rest of the season, especially leading up to this Michigan game? Like, this Maryland game needs to be a statement game.
Yep.
And I think we checked that box,
For sure.
No doubt.
For sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
I went down there, and we physically, put it on those guys. And as Jay said, still room to mature, tighten things up for sure. But as we talked about last week, when it comes down to the playoff decisions, when we get to that point, what did these games look like? Was it, 28-27 and we squeaked away a win against Maryland, or not? We put it on them boys. I mean, we physically leaned on them. The size difference was obvious. I had guys, regular fans sitting behind me. You could tell, like, never really been to a game, or it's like, oh, the guys in white, they look a lot bigger than the other team. Like, look at 84, look at 44, tight ends. And I think, just goes to talent, man. The talent is there, the confidence keep coming along, and then it comes to the execution, making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you got? Did you watch any of that?
I think, to me, I did watch the game, especially even before we got on. I watched a little bit more of the highlights. I think, to me, what was the most impressive about that game is I thought we were going to struggle with a running quarterback like Talia. Sure. So to see us put on that pressure on him down after down after down, I mean, the defense was super relentless. And, they had some big plays. Don't get me wrong. Go ahead. But that's a testament, right? Like, early in the season, B and I talked about this, like, our defensive line specifically, like, they're so athletic. They expose gaps. And if you have a guy who can move like that, and now I'm kind of talking your guys' language, but I want to tee you up.
if you have athletic guys up front, you can tend to get a little deeper than you think, but that creates lanes for guys like that to step up and have yardage, especially if you're exposing yourself with some man on the back end or some blitzes. Like, it exposes big things. Like, that's growth right there in a defense that, like, you really are sitting there going, like, it's the number one defense in the country, top 5 defense in the country. Like, where else can they grow?
Right.
To your point, seeing a running quarterback like that or a guy who has the athleticism to hurt you, they showed a ton of discipline, and Chop didn't even play again. You know what I mean? One of our best guys. So it's like, that's growth. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's something that can be elaborated on specifically with that unit.
Yeah, no doubt. And even as I watched the game, you notice there's a ton of 5-man pressures. I mean, Manny was setting our Mike linebackers up the A-gap the whole time. So you could tell he was really trying to cover up all the gaps and kind of also eliminate from that, perspective. But it was good to see. I mean, the DBs played well as usual. I mean, that's the strength of our team is our DBs back there. And they had some big plays. And obviously, they're talented too. They're going to have some. But I thought the biggest thing is when they did have big plays is we didn't hit the panic button.
Right.
It was okay, next play. You know what I mean? And to be able to do that, especially as a young defense, as a young team, that really tells you that, okay, these guys are coached well. These guys got the right mentality. Okay, next play, let's lock in. So I loved seeing that.
Yeah, and then offensively, B made the bold prediction of Drew's post-game presser against Ohio State was kind of his Tim Tebow moment. And came out a little slow against Indiana, but I finished the game strong. And just watching him and his maturity, like, you have to go through those things as a quarterback throughout a season to really get a feel. And, like, people expect the growth to just be – I'm only speaking from experience here. They expect it to be just leaps and bounds over, but it's never a straight path. It's a little bit of up, down, 2 steps, 3 steps, now 5 steps, 3. Like, it's just – you're going to figure it out. You're going to catch a rhythm. But I really thought he did a great job of facilitating the football, again, doing what he's done all year from a staying on schedule standpoint and keeping the offense on schedule, taking what they're giving him. But I think he did a much better job of being more comfortable pushing the ball down the field. Yeah. He still needs, I think, some improvement on giving guys chances when he does have true one-on-ones, and that's something that, again, that's the only thing I'll say, continue the patience, because he'll figure that out as he gets older and starts seeing things and knows where to put the ball in those situations. But, the red zone throws that he made to Cephas were fantastic. The throw to Tyler Warren he made a similar throw against
Tyler Warren too. To Tyler Warren too. Very similar throw, same concept basically. That's just trusting a guy, and those are the throws that you want to see from a kid. So I think he's really settling in, and I think that puts us to this. I think the conversation is now, can Coach Franklin and can this team ride this momentum to get over the hump and beat Michigan? Or it's not even just Michigan, a top 5 opponent at home, and one that ultimately you have to get if you want to achieve all those goals that we talked about, the playoffs, the Big Ten championship, those types of things. So, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm excited because everything we just said, and you said it last week, the offense took those strides, and it was just 1 week, but we see that confidence, the confidence in execution, especially from the young QB. And he even kind of mentioned it in his presser this past week, about getting kind of that interception off of him. And I think it just comes down to the kid's so young, we often forget, because he is so mature and cool, calm, cool, Joe Cool back there. But he doesn't know what he doesn't know. As we all know, being players, and you especially Hackenberg's quarterback, that maybe he does feel a little better about just slinging it, letting it rip back there, because he has the talent to put the ball where it needs to be. And these guys, Tyler Warren, the tight ends, you see these inside slants over the middle. He wasn't late and behind this past week. Was dot nose up, and that's what we're gonna need this week. Because I've been saying it, Michigan, Ohio State, these DBs are grabby. There's not going to be a lot of separation. There's not going to be a lot of, how you run it in practice and all of a sudden it's wide open. That's the throw. It's, eyes, let it rip, tight window, low and away, whatever it may be, and trust your guys. Trust your guys to get it. And that's similar. I think everything I said against Ohio State is very similar to this week. What we need to do, offensively at least, to win this game.
Well, you're talking 2 playoff teams. I think that brings us to a point, and I haven't talked on this because, again, NCAA is involved, all this stuff. But, this stuff going on in Michigan, it's if it's what everyone's portraying it to be in terms of forward scouting, getting in this is unprecedented. We haven't seen it in college football. And I'm going to elaborate here as we go, but I'm really curious to hear y'all's takes on this scandal that's floating around that theoretically may or may not be true. No one's really coming out and saying anything yet because the NCAA does move at snail's pace, except for when it's Penn State. But I'm not bitter or anything. But we're talking about something here that is a violation if it's true. Clear violation, and no one's really being quick and swift with these judgments. What's your take on this? Because this is, like I said, this is unprecedented in my eyes.
I just think at this point in time, because obviously we don't know absolutely everything, but at this point in time, I do think that everybody needs to think of it at least with a basis of knowledge of knowing that stealing signs isn't necessarily like this big, new thing that, has been happening, that just started happening. Anything like at the end of the day, everybody has signals. And like, if you're out there on the field, even when you're out there on the field and you're actually playing, you're hearing the quarterback make an audible, you hear a code word, like you're trying to pick up on what that code word is because it's probably going to come up later on in the game and that can give you an edge on the play. So at all times, you're always trying to find all those little things that might give you the one up on a certain play. So I don't want to speak on it and people not at least knowing and having that basis that like, hey, at the end of the day, like a lot of people are always looking at signs to try to get a step ahead for what to call, et cetera, et cetera. I think when we talk about it, it's now more so an issue of, okay, like how deep exactly did they take that?
Yeah.
This is like premeditated. Like you're out there and you guys got the shit laminated and you're practicing it and you're sitting and spending hours in the meeting room leading into the game week. Like, this is cover one. This is when they're going to run right. This is like, and you see some clips, man. Like I'm not judging it. I'm not jumping to judgment here, but you see some clips of the guy going run right, send the house against Ohio State. And sure as shit, it's an inside zone to the right, and the safeties are sitting in corners and they fucking feel like no other. And all you need to do is go like this and throw it right over the top. It was a touchdown, but like. That's a competitive advantage. You see the Aiden Hutchinson, your boy, with the screen against Nebraska, on first down. Like no one's going screen first down. That's as an offensive guy, you're using the screen on first down as a change up. Like, I don't know, man. That's deep, bro.
It seems like every week there's a little bit more and more put out there, pieces of evidence here and there, video evidence. I think the Purdue coach or someone in the presser this past week. To your point of like,
pissed.
He was like, this isn't alleged. Like we have proof. We all see it. This is the guy. He got fired or took a leave of absence, whatever you want to call it. I think honestly, I'll give you a curveball. When it first came out, there was a lot of hoopla, but like Jay said, oh, everyone does it. The coaches don't want to put the mics in the helmets. They don't want to cover the cost of the helmets and all the legalities of what it would take to put mics in the helmets and all that, which is true. And I think maybe this kid, this Connor Stallion, was a fall guy. So maybe he was a plant to maybe finally get that shift to what people want, putting the mics in the helmets.
Oh, so I don't know. You're pulling the tinfoil out here.
You're pulling the
tinfoil teepee in this right now.
Yeah, I don't know because it all seems so odd and so outrageous. Because you see, like at the Central Michigan game, like I guess it isn't proven yet, but you see the videos, like
that's wild.
How did he get the gear, the Central Michigan gear? Where did he get the sideline pads?
Mack was coaching at Michigan. The head coach at Central Michigan was coaching at Michigan with them.
So where's Water?
It's really strange. So part of me is, if you're one of those YouTube, type of people, believe in everything you see, but he could be a fall guy to finally get the shift when everyone's teed up, pissed off. Oh, this happened in 2023. That was the straw that broke the camel's back to put the mics in the helmets. That may have been his job the whole time. Maybe he didn't know it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. So let me shift this here too, right? So apparently there's the weekly meeting with all the Big Ten coaches and the commissioner and all that stuff, and there was a pretty it wasn't unanimous, but it was apparently a substantially leaning towards something needs to be done from all of the Big Ten coaches regarding this stuff. But if you guys were in this situation, like, what do you think is a fair punishment for this? And B, is there any type of merit to somebody saying, like, I know it'll never happen, but is there any merit to being like, we're not going to play this football game? Like, we don't know what they have, and it's never going to happen. But I'm saying, is there merit to that if someone were to stand on the table and be like, we're not playing this football game because we don't know what they have, and if there's a competitive advantage here, like, I'm putting my kids in a bad situation.
I mean, I'll just say Matt Rule has been that. I know they already played, but he's been that guy that's been like openly like, no, they're wrong. Yeah. I'll start off to say, if it is proven and somehow they can prove, quantitatively how much and how far back this goes, because who knows, and what games and how much amount of tape, then it could and should get ugly for Michigan. Now, if that means revoking wins and things of that nature, I think that in history, that's usually what they do to college teams when something like this or scandals happen.
This isn't like, paying kids or some shit like that stuff's been,
right. Which that shouldn't mean you revoke wins. If anything revokes wins, it would be a case like this.
We're talking integrity of the game here. We're talking integrity of the game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't believe they'll even be able to. I think it ended up being a slap on the wrist. Harbaugh might not even be here in the next few years.
That's true.
I just hate how extensive it looks. That's my thing. I honestly, truly would be ready to be like, look, at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of teams trying to get an edge out here. Like whether it's, paying it a little extra more attention to the, other sideline signals or whatever the case may be. But once I saw the Central Michigan tape, that's when I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And the Central Michigan coach goes in the post conference after, and he's like, nah, this guy's name is not on the sideline pass list. Like, our people are looking into it. And like, when they tell us, you'll know. Like, once I heard that out of his mouth at the press conference, that's when I was really like, oh, no, okay, this is kind of this is a whole another level of pushing this in there.
And like you said something great though, Jason. Like you said, this is the integrity of the game, right? And I think I speak for all three of us. Like we're football purists here. I played with both you guys. You guys played with me. We love the game, respect the game. I think that's a big thing. You respect the game. Game always gives back. That type of thing. No doubt. I just think like from an unprecedented standpoint, like I've said, this is the first attack on the integrity of football. Like, to your point, this stuff has happened. Guys try to get edges. There's chippiness. There's this. There's that. Like, everyone understands that. And that's across the board. I mean, baseball, you're trying to pick up on things like everything. You're trying to figure it out to do what you can do to be successful in that point in time. But, like, when you really, truly dig into it and it's a obvious competitive advantage and you're taking a shot at the football gods, man, like, yeah, I just have to believe that the football gods are going to get this right and set this right in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know if that's a ass whooping this Saturday or what. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that's the case for our sake. But I'm hoping the football gods get this right, because if everything is as deep as it is, again, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but my biggest qualm is that it is with the integrity of the game.
On the flip side, to dive deeper into the conspiracy theory of it all, is
I need to get fucking roll the tinfoil here.
Well, if you roll it back enough, they find out there's more hands in the pot with other teams, and they don't want to get their hands dirty in it because they know they may have been guilty, even if it was X amount of years ago. If things, people start getting, the gavel slammed on them, they'll start ratting and say, oh, well, this guy did it. I learned it from this guy in 2011 when I was here. And if that starts to happen, it may get really ugly. And I think, to your point, Hack, you always speak on what the NCAA needs to do as far as moving forward as a whole, and taking college football kind of out of the format it's been for so long. And that may be the straw that breaks that camel's back into kind of more of that realm of college football. We'll see. Yeah. I'm a conspiracy guy, so I don't know.
There you are. YouTube rabbit holes.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
We'll see, man. I mean, I think another thing is kind of the length of how long it might go. This could be an investigation that goes for a long time. So, okay, nothing happens to Michigan. What if they win the Natty this year and everybody's in outrage that they won it because the investigation is still going on? There's a lot of factors here, a lot going on. I could see them doing something swift for the sake of, because I think nowadays when it comes to scandals and all these types of things, really everything is just optics. That's what whether it's the president of the university, the Big Ten commissioner, whoever it ends up being that's making these decisions, it ends up being optics. So if the outrage is big enough and people are complaining enough, then something has to be done in our day of age, this social media age of gratification right now.
Everybody has a voice.
Probably does get suspended, because if it is true, I just don't see how he couldn't have known. I just don't see how that's possible.
And there's also something that you said, there's also going to be an asterisk. If Michigan goes out and does win a national championship, there's going to be always a mark on this one, and it's going to be what ifs, and it's going to be an interesting November. That's for sure. If this stuff,
Harbaugh is still technically under investigation from the previous mishap. I mean, just to say optics, it's snowballs.
And again, here's my thing. That whole thing came from buying a kid a cheeseburger, and that was from what it was kids can go out and make a couple $1,000,000 now. Who cares if you bought a kid a cheeseburger, right? That's where the NCAA, I think, when they prioritize things and they do stuff, it's a little bit of a head scratcher to me. This one would be all hands on deck for me, because again, you're talking the integrity of the game.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. Obviously it's something that Penn State's going to have to handle. Coach Franklin hasn't touched it in his press conference up until this point, seeing the shift to the wristbands, stuff like that. So it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on if there's some absolute perfect play calls and some, situations here. That'll be interesting to see. But now moving to that, right? At the end of the day, Penn State doesn't have control over that. Nobody has control over that. You got to go out and play the game here. We've talked about it. I mean, we talked about the Ohio State game being a big one. We failed pretty miserably in that one. Just speaking honestly. Mm-hmm. This week, you get a chance, and like I said, I think for Coach Franklin, it means a lot too, with his record against teams of this nature and stuff like that. This is again another opportunity, right? And those opportunities only come around so much. And for him, it's got to mean a lot. And I think the locker room is starting to realize that it means a lot for him due to the outside pressure that's been talked about. So I'm curious to see what type of Penn State team shows up. I think we're going to find out what type of game it's going to be in the first quarter when I'm watching it. Just mentality juice. It's at home. Thank God. Big noon kickoff. I'm not a big fan of that, but I think this game needs to be under the lights personally. But
that raises a question that I would like to ask Jason. From your perspective, putting your college cleats back on, what's your mindset as a leader? What are you saying to this team? If obviously you're still rocking that 4-0 in the blue and white this week, coming off the letdown, and still everything is still able in reach for this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's a season-defining game. I mean, that's the reality. I think in my mind, you make the game as big as it is, because that's exactly what it is. It's a season-defining game, and at the end of the day, it can still put you in position. I think to me, I mean, you remember B, our 2016 team, man, the biggest X factor to me in that team was the belief factor. It was the belief factor. It was, I'm absolutely going to lay it down on the line for the man to the left and the man to the right, and I trust the man to the left and the man to the right to do the same. I think if we can go out in this game with that mentality, I truly feel like we can win this game. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take our most complete game.
Right.
It's going to take the crowd having an effect on this game. It's going to take us winning the penalty battle, and it's going to take some special teams plays where we get the right end of the stick on some special teams plays and field position and things of that nature. But if we can do that and control what we can control, Drew can continue to protect the football and not, have any turnovers. I absolutely feel like we have a chance to win this game, because, like I said, if this can be the type of game where we can impose our will on them and then have the crowd behind us, it can just end up being this mountain that Michigan just can't climb and can't get over a hump. If we can just sustain that momentum, they're going to make plays. There's no doubt about that. But if we can sustain the momentum, sustain the pressure on them, I do feel like this Michigan team can choke.
I think there's a maturity here too. Like, I mean, I see what you're saying, Jason, but I mean, when I look at this, and I've said this all year about this Penn State team, like the roster, the depth, like all that stuff, for me, that's like 2013, 2014, 2015, even a little bit of 2016. You guys were still coming out of that stuff. But like realistically speaking, since that Big Ten championship game, like you've had enough separation from the sanctions to have built a roster. Coach Franklin's done a great job in recruiting. He's had a lot of turnover in some key areas, specifically offensive coordinator, offensive line coaches, some stuff like that. But now he's had 2 years of pretty solid consistency there. The transfer portal has helped. We've been able to pluck a couple guys who can come in and play and be an impact there. The facilitation of that, I no longer say that like really anybody we roll out on when it comes to Jimmy's and Joe's is at like a significant advantage over us, right? Yeah. So to your point, playing a complete game, I'm looking at the maturity of this ball club, right? Like we talked about like the last 4 weeks being a little bit of a microcosm of the season, and it's how high and how low these peaks and valleys have been. Like this is a chance for you to show as a young team, but a team now that's at the end of the day, football's time in football is so much smaller than anything else. Like people don't realize it. Like you could be 2 weeks of really good momentum, and next thing you know, you're off and rolling, even if you're a young guy. So for me, it's a maturity game for Penn State. Like I don't think they need to play a perfect game. I think they just need to come out and play a really complete game. And when you see games like this, it just comes down to who wins those 50-50, interception here, short field here, score a touchdown instead of kick a field goal. Like those types of things in the game define games like this. Again, if the team shows up, and we didn't show up in Columbus, that's period. We've covered that. So now we need these guys to wake up. It's game day. And to your point, Jason, this is a season defining game. Like it needs to be preached top to bottom, strength staff, head coach, janitor in the Lash building all week. And these kids need to come out and play. And if they do that, to your point, there's a lot in our favor with the home field advantage. We all know what that's about. And this Michigan team who really hasn't been tested all year. You know what I mean? That's the nice thing about getting the Ohio State game out of the way for us is we had the chance to go and fail miserably, and we did. Now can we show the maturity that we learned from that and show up on Saturday at noon and be ready? And it's going to be a challenge, but these are the dogs that you said it before we got on national championship. Like that's what the mindset needs to be at Penn State, top to bottom, and be a competitor again on that landscape. And I think we're there from a talent standpoint. Now we just need to get the whole mechanism in that mindset consistently.
Yeah. You guys knocked it out the park, and I'll just sprinkle on. It's that mentality, man. Whether it's we deserve to be, the top dogs in the division, if that's how you want to go about it, which it should be, or just a sweet, I want to knock these guys off. Why not knock, number 3 Michigan off? To boost us up. I see this game as for the QB, Michigan QB McCarthy. It could be his Heisman, accelerator, which we've been a part of, unfortunately, things like that. I remember Ohio State was it 2017 after that game. RJ Barrett kind of accelerated his Heisman talk. Or you could knock that Heisman talk, kick the chair from under it and make this guy look like just a regular QB. But those are the type of things in my head. As I'm a player, I was like, I want to make these guys seem like pedestrians. They're not that special. They get all the praise and this and that. Yeah. We are those dudes, and we're going to show you Saturday at 12. So that's just my piece of, confidence to go into this game mentality, that dog mentality.
Yeah, I think it's all like out. It's the 6 inches between our ears. And I think that's where the growth of this program is now. Is how mentally strong and how much can we ingrain that we're no longer like the wild card in the East. I know that all that's going to change here now in the next couple of years with the additions and all that stuff. But like, we're no longer just like the redheaded stepchild that comes in there with a stick and gets a couple cheap shots every once in a while. Like we're here to play. You know what I'm saying? We're here with you. We understand that there's going to be equal distribution. We're going to get got sometimes, but we need to start not getting got as much and start getting a little bit here. It's just great.
And we talk about it, and we always speak from the player's perspective, obvious, but that comes on everything you just said on both ends, coaches and players. Jay hit it on earlier. The confidence in the guys out there to, call those play calls that may be a little more risque or whatever. It comes on both ends. Coaches got to let loose as well.
You guys had that with Moorhead in that 16th. Exactly. And I've told Joe this on several occasions, like at least offensively, like Joe didn't give a shit. And I love that about him. Like he shot his shot and dealt with it, and I think, but you talked about it, Jason, like the ultimate confidence, like I think that's Coach Franklin's evolution, right? I think from your point be like coaching now too, like it's Coach Franklin's evolution to like those guys in the building and the guys making the calls on game day, like need to know that Coach Franklin is like, bro, like shoot your shot. Do not dip your toe in the water. Like we're going to live and die by the three. Like it's our time. So he's got a great chance. Right. And I can only imagine what it's like being him with all the pressure and everyone talking about the record against, top ranked teams and this and that and the other thing. Like at some point in time, you just got to say, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Got to swing that sword, baby.
And I also think like this is going to be the type of game where like in the big time moments, on the critical downs, on the gotta have it moments, we have to be the type of team where we have the players that say in those moments, I want the ball, put it on me, let me do it. Mm-hmm. Instead of having the type of players who are just looking around and we're looking for, okay, who's going to step up? Who's gonna, you know what I mean? I think those moments are definitely going to come up in this game, and those are going to be the moments really decided, like, okay, like this team is the one who came to play.
Right.
They're going to come to take it. They're not going to come to just hope that it just lands in their lap and, we're thankful. Nah, like we really took that shit. Right. That's how it has to be.
True. Hack and Deshaun talked about it having that go-to guy, and I believe I believe it's Tyler Warren. And I don't know if he's verbally coming out and saying that, but I want him to. I want him to say, yo, obviously if it's not called for him, but like I'm beating my guy. It's 3rd and 4, 5, 7. I got an out, a corner, whatever it is, bro.
Throw me that bitch.
Bro, like
it's funny, dude. Like I was texting Mike today, Gesicki, about just he was texting me about some stuff, and that came up, and I'm like, bro, like this kid Tyler Warren he's a player, bro.
Right.
And Mike's like, yo, he's an assassin, like a silent
Psycho T. I think they call him Psycho T.
Yeah, dude, but physical in his routes, physical in blocking, like a true mismatch and a true personnel problem, because he actually is a tight end. Like he's not just a big guy like Mike sometimes, just a big guy who creates a mismatch in the passing game. Like he does create some issues. And, I think they've done a good job of getting those guys. We talked about it. I think there's more that they can continue to do in the passing game with that room, not just Tyler, Theo, and these other guys that are starting to emerge. Like it's an advantage. So I don't know, man. Bold predictions here. Like it's, to me, again, it's the 6 inches between our ears and the mentality, because I don't think it's the talent thing anymore. And I'm probably going to get heat for that, but I really don't think it is. Like, I think it's like mentality, maturity, how you approach this game and go. What are y'all's keys?
Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, dang.
Let me take it.
Stumped him. Stumped him.
I ain't gonna lie. I looked up to read these, get a head start on these.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll get to this.
To me, our defense has to outshine their defense. These are two top defenses in the Big Ten. That's the reality. I don't really see this game being some crazy shootout. Like I look at this game being more of a 24-21, 27-24 type of game. So in the critical moments, our defense has to outshine their defense, whether that's because we had a pick six or turnovers or, whatever the case may be. That's going to have to be a big factor. And then number two, like I said earlier in the game, is all the silent factors that we don't think too much about. When you have two even teams like that, those silent factors are going to be the separators. So whether that's penalties, whether that is special teams and getting good field position or pinning them within the 10-yard line on a great punt, those plays are going to be critical in this game, because the margins just for error is going to make it that much smaller for either team.
Yeah.
We talked about that against Ohio State. When we had them pinned, the second drive coming out of halftime, we had them pinned. They were kicking out of their end zone, and we didn't field it, and we lost like 40 yards. The kid ended up having like a 73-yard punt because we didn't field it on the 40-yard line. He kicked a line drive right to us. Like
those are huge. Those plays are huge. So if we can keep them in situations where we make it so that for them it's the hardest and the margin of error is the smallest, I think we're going to be all right, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that, I mean, not a revolutionary answer, but complimentary football. Everything you said to me is just complimentary football. It doesn't have to be a perfect game, but field position, fielding the punts, getting a little yardage. When we punt the ball, pinning them deep, doesn't, put those situations on their part, pinning them deep, having our defense tee off from them, flipping the field and things of that nature, the special teams battle. We don't need 2 punt returns by Daquan Hardy for touchdowns, but, we may need that 10 yards, that 6 yards, or us not allowing them to get some momentum on a punt return, kick return, and things of that nature. And then defense, I mean, we know what it's going to be. I think, as I said, kind of the McCarthy game, I want to put him in a situation to make him win the game because I like our chances for that. Get after him, lock up on these receivers. We know what Manny is, speaking to that confidence from coaches to players. We've seen that from day one with Manny. He's going to let it rip. There's going to be solo coverage. They've got some dudes on the outside. And to the McCarthy kid's credit, he can move. He's made a ton of great throws, seems to read it pretty well. So I like to put the pressure on him. But that starts obviously with, stopping the run. They haven't been the same Michigan in that regard. But trust me, if I'm a player, remembering last season, they're going to come down and try to, run the ball down your throat, test your will, if you may, to see if we can break you like that. And we don't even need to drop back and sling it. So,
100%.
Complimentary football altogether.
I want Drew to breathe too. Look comfortable. He's gonna get a second chance at the stage like this. Like, just breathe, look comfortable, and let it fly, and live with it. Like he looked a little shell shocked against Ohio State. I just want him to breathe, let it rip, and live with the results.
First time on the road. That's why I kind of like those QB draws. Sometimes I'm like, I don't think that's for him. But
I've seen this before. Like, I like getting hit early in a game. Like, settled me in.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like whether it was me getting hit or giving a hit, like tucking something and just getting a little bang, like it just settled me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he may be a little bigger than you, but if he gets that 6'5", 240 rolling, I don't necessarily want him to put his shoulder down, but if he kind of gets the better end of one of those plays, that can do a lot for a team, a sideline. You know how that goes.
I'll tell you what, I was 245 at one point in time, though, when we were in the frat houses. I was a 62.
I want to see it.
Powered by Natty Light and
Natty
Oreos. Anyway, that's good stuff, man. We're gonna be there. I'm gonna be on the sideline, so I'm excited to see it. Jason, you'll be there in spirit, I know. Good luck this week.
Yeah.
Let's. I think that's good stuff. High level. I think we're at that point in the season now where we know who we are. We can get as nerdy as we want, but I think really the deciding factor is everything we talked about. So this is good stuff. Appreciate your insight, Jay. Let's get to the mailbag, B. This is on you.
Mailbag. Appreciate you guys.
It's always fun. We know we make this a big part of our pod. Getting the fans. You guys drive it. So what do we got, B?
Yeah, I'll start with not too many, but I'll start with Jody 48591610. Not a question, just appreciation and respect for you all. Appreciate that, Jody. As Hack said, we love this component of the show. So appreciate that little tidbit. Let me go ahead and favorite that now, actually.
There you go.
Our guy Coker, we might have touched on this a little bit, but who else besides Dante Cephas, who we got saw a lot more of this past week. I loved it. Builds his confidence, go win those one-on-one battles. But who else besides Dante Cephas and KLS Lambert needs to step up at receiver this Saturday? Also, who was this style of play calling? Where was this style of play calling all year long? Feels like Drew is coming out of his shell, quote, trying to be perfect a little bit and just playing ball. I'll start with the first one. Who else in the receiver room?
I'll jump right quick. I don't think that it's been like a different play calling mentality. Like it's so hard to say that. Like I think people overanalyze that side of it. Like, play callers are play callers, man. Like, they have tendencies like everybody else. So I don't think that it's like been this big, vast thing. Like, yeah, he threw that package in there in the red zone where they put Bo and Drew out at the same time. They ran that little switch, whatever. Like, that's a cool little wrinkle. But again, like, I'm not a super fan of the gimmicky shit. Like, I want them to continue to expand on what they do well and build counter punches off those things. And you're starting to see a little bit more of that. And I just think, like, Drew's starting to execute a little bit more. He just didn't execute against Ohio State. And that's like, again, the microscope that we're judging everything else off of. Like, the rest of the year, like, you can't really complain about what we've done. So for me, I just want to see Yurcich continue to give him a little bit more leash and let him, live and die and make some mistakes. And I think he's starting to get a little more antsy with those types of things. I think that's good, right? Like, you need to throw some punches to win. You can't just continually be check down, check this, check that. Like, you have to throw some punches to start winning games against really good teams. So I think he's starting to do that, and that's great. A guy we've talked about, and I don't really know his status, to be completely honest with you, but a guy I talked about early in the year was that Malik McLean kid from Florida State. I don't know if he's banged up or whatever, but if it's not this week, I think at some point in the latter half of the season, he's going to have a game that people are like, man, he's got the frame, he's got the talent, I think. So I think he could be a sneaky one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I saw him out there against Maryland, back out at receiver. Like you said, we haven't seen him in a while. And just if he hears it, someone get this in the air, keep running those routes the way you're running them. As we, it hasn't been coming your way yet, but you never know, man. What was that?
I said the ball will find you.
Yeah, the ball will find you. I mean, I'm not going to say, Drew missed anything, but from my perspective, there were opportunities for him, I think. And that's the tough part about receiver. Ball's only going to go one way. That's why I couldn't play. Yeah. I'd be like TL if I was a receiver, bro. I'm not running a go route, and you ain't throwing me the ball. But to your point, yeah, he has a ton of potential. Good to see him back out there, and his time is coming, as you said.
Yeah. And
when it does, it'll be like a light bulb went off. Like, we got this 6'4" kid that can move, and we saw it week 1, against West Virginia. But time is coming. Let Drew develop, and it'll get there.
Yep.
Yeah, Jay.
I'm not gonna lie, man. This is to me the biggest question mark on our team.
Yeah,
is that receiver to me.
Yeah.
It's been spits and spurts of some guys stepping up some games, and I think, maybe there will be an X factor of a guy. That'd be awesome. And in games like this, that actually does tend to happen. An X factor of a guy that maybe hasn't been having a huge year just comes out and has 100 yards. But I think, to me, I just haven't seen that consistency, and sometimes maybe that's the reason why I don't put too much on Drew when it comes to taking those shots and forcing the ball downfield, because maybe it's actually because in practice there aren't a whole lot of guys separating themselves. And when he does it in practice, it's not a good result, because at the end of the day, what happens in practice is a lot of times what you see in the game. So if we're not seeing it in the game, maybe it's because it's not being translated from practice. So obviously Keandre, obviously Dante had a big game last game, and that's good to see. But I think even from those guys, I just want to see more consistency. And I think with that consistency, that'll allow us to see that evolution of Drew starting to really throw that ball downfield and let it fly like we want to see him do.
Yep. That's a great point.
Yeah, great point. And once again, I know we keep saying it, the aces, the tight ends, I believe that's where the mismatches will create themselves more so. The guys on the outside have speed, but I think those big dudes kind of have a little more combination of everything like we've been saying to create mismatches. And then, like I said, it's not going to be 4 yards of separation every route. It's still going to take Drew to put the ball where they can get it and give them a shot, as Hack's been saying. And we're seeing that more and more and more over the middle and hitting things in rhythm. So look out for those tight ends again. I have a lot of confidence in those guys. Myself. And then I think last one, we'll start with G Money, Grant Grasha. Jace Cabinda, you blessed us with an incredible walkthrough tour of the PSU locker room with Maria Taylor before the 2017 Michigan game. Any chance we get part 2 of that this year? for this game, for good luck.
It's working, bro.
Maybe not for this game, but maybe me and Maria can work something out. Maybe in a few years.
Wait, were you singing Drake to her? He says, and can we get Jason to sing some Drake again? What was
He
that?
pressured me to sing in the beginning of the interview, and by the end, I was basically forced to give him a little something.
Shout out to Maria Taylor. I always like Maria Taylor. She's a good one.
Yeah, she's good people's.
What else we got? Do we have anything else? If not, that's okay. I'll hit you with something, Jay. I always ask a lot of our guys, give me two top two memories in your Penn State time on the field and off the field.
Oh, okay. Top memory on the field. I feel like I got a tie, man, between, Big Ten championship and then, being Ohio State that same year. I think those are like hand in hand, just because I feel like the Big Ten championship for us was just like, it was like such a culmination of like the struggle, not just the struggle of recent years of the things that Penn State had gone through, but like also just the struggles that we went through in the beginning of that year as a team. Yeah. So I think a culmination of those things made that Big Ten championship so special. And just that game overall, that game overall, being down, what was it down? We were down like 28-7 at halftime to come back to win that game. I mean, it was that game was dope. And then the Ohio State game, just the fact that, the whole world was rooting against us, wide out, night game, number 2 in the country, unranked. That game had all the football guys, like all the hype, all of the whole storyline was so perfectly put together for that game to happen the way that it did. We had a kick 6 in that game. I hadn't played. Me and you come back. You come back from injury. Everything about that game just came together so picture perfect that for it to end the way it did. The whole, and it's funny because that was a full circle moment for me because as a recruit, I had gone to y'all's quadruple overtime win against Michigan, and that was the first time in my life I had ever been at a place where the whole crowd stormed the field and, like that level of emotion. That was the first time that I'd seen that in person. So being a part of that in the actual game and winning that game and being in it on the field and just being flooded of people, I couldn't even get back to the locker room. That night was super special. I'll never ever forget that ever.
Yeah. That's something. It kind of reminds me of, like my dad always says, you'll never understand until you have a kid, a child of your own. But it's the same to me as when you're in high school, especially, then you're even a player at Penn State, whatever school it may be, and you hear older guys come back like, yo, savor the moments. Just rejoice every moment, the good, the bad, while you're here because you don't get it back, da-da-da. And it's like, yeah. But until you're done, looking back, it's like, dang, I had an impression on a young 17-year-old to want to come here and become and have his own moments in this beautiful place of Penn State, to create something like that. So that's something also, guys. I know it's hard to really see as a 22-year-old just trying to go to school, make plays, and do what you have to do. But, you do have an everlasting effect on many people, not just fans, coaches, but like you said, players, keep that legacy going. It's a beautiful thing. And when you go out there and perform and to make the magical moments magical in your favor, those big nights like we have or big noonday like we have this Saturday, it makes it all the sweeter when you come up victorious. So looking forward to seeing that happen. Still have all that confidence that that these guys will go out there and perform, execute, because that's all it comes down to. So,
no doubt,
that's all I got. That's the last bit of questions. Jay, I appreciate you.
Of course, appreciate y'all, man.
It's good seeing you. We gotta get you back on. We'll do some more stuff. We'll chop it up.
I'm with it. Y'all know media space, man. So anytime y'all got an op for me, man, I'm there. I'm all about it.
I know you are. Well, that's it, man. That's the pocket. We got a big one this week. We're all excited. We'll all be locked in just like you guys. So, as always, we appreciate the love on the mailbag. Keep them coming. Follow us on all our shows, on all of our socials. State Media PSU. Follow Mercury for the full broad spectrum of what we're doing. And then don't forget to hit the merch. We got merch. So I appreciate you guys. And as always, we'll catch you next week.